prolong these tokens. Though this time there's now 3 of them, or 4. It looks like actually.
Right.
So
I mean,
this might be the turn where he does something with them, because now it requires 4 mana a turn to keep them around.
Okay, here we go. Mayhem Devil, and we're gonna maybe see a few copies being made of Mayhem Devil now.
Yeah, and then of course these tokens are all getting sacrificed at the end step, so that's potentially a lot of triggers. Doesn't look, 4 copies. If all 4 of them can become 5 Mayhem Devils, 4 sacrifice, that's 20 damage, Haiyue. So Rob's got to have something, and he does.
Okay, Lightning Axe. So in response, Edgar can make some more Mayhem Devils.
But also the Mayhem Devils themselves are going to get sacrificed too.
Oh, and they'll see each other being sacrificed, presumably.
Yeah.
That is a lot of triggers.
It's a lot of triggers. This is why Edgar was doing a lot of math.
I mean, we have run out of copy tokens, by the way. So we're into the miscellaneous tokens.
Well, right now there's 3. There looks like there's 3 Mayhem Devils, and there's going to be 7 things sacrificed at the end step. However, the first Mayhem Devil that gets sacrificed will resolve first, and then the second one, and then the third one. So they won't actually all see themselves, but they do get to attack.
Right, and one of them is going to trade with the Phoenix.
Which actually I think is not as much damage as keeping it back. But
oh, well, it's 6 damage through to 11, and then there's plenty. There's enough, right? Because all of those 4 will get seen first, and then
yes, yeah. So wow, that was a pretty exciting finish.
I was not expecting that. You know, when we talk about Racksack, we talk about Cat Oven. I think we were expecting maybe more of the slow kind of turn by turn sacrifice stuff to happen, and then this make a bunch of copies, copy those copies, and then copy the Mayhem Devils thing was a very different line than what I was expecting, but very, very cool to see.
Oh yeah, the reflections do, as I said, the Fable does a lot of work in this deck, and we got to see a lot of Mayhem Devil action going on.
That was great. I mean, Fable is so interesting because I think everyone feels like they know it so well now. You know, obviously it made such a huge impact on multiple formats. It was a linchpin of so many decks. But seeing it in this context just adds another dimension, which I love. Let's have a look at the Phoenix deck now for sideboarding. Game number 2. Can they bring in any tools to help kind of the problems that they face this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Aether Gust and Abrade are both the cards that stand out to me. Aether Gust, of course, can answer Fable, can answer Mayhem Devil. So has, it's a nice interactive card there. Abrade can, besides also can answer a Mayhem Devil or Fable token, but can also answer the Oven, which is one of the really powerful tools the Sacrifice deck has, even though we didn't see it in Game 1. Other cards that Rob could consider bringing in, Brotherhood's End can be a sweeper, as well as potentially an Oven answer. We could see, maybe Negate come in, maybe Blue Sun's Twilight, or even another Treasure Cruise if Rob is scared of more discard and needing to play a grindier game.
All right, let's have a look at Rakdos Sacrifice for Edgar Magalhaes. What do you like here?
So the obvious card, Duress. I think Duress is, Rob's deck is full of spells, and you want to have more discard, more ways to interact, whether it's taking away a removal spell to let your Mayhem Devil survive, or just, a powerful card draw spell. It can be really, really big. Rending Volley also is a solid answer to Ledger Shredder, but I don't actually know that it's necessarily better than the tools that Edgar already has.
Solid answer to Ledger Shredder. Could also be an answer to Crackling Drake if that comes in out of the side for Rob Anderson. We'll see whether these kind of more niche effects make it in for Edgar. I believe we're ready to go down to the action game number 2 here in round 10. And Rob is going to be on the play this time with Is It Phoenix? And remember last game, Rob was a little bit mana screwed in the early turns. Let's see. Oh, we get to have a look at the hand thanks to this Thoughtseize effect. Charter Course, pieces of the puzzle opt, and I believe that's a Fiery Impulse.
Yes, yeah, and 2 lands. So Rob's got the next 2 land drops covered. Deciding not to opt in response to Thoughtseize because you can take whatever and he gets, but also Edgar is more incentivized to take one of these higher mana cost but more impactful draw spells, and then Rob can opt potentially find whichever one's missing, given more information for him rather than more information for Edgar.
So pieces of the puzzle is going to hit the bin, and there you see it. Opt is going to be cast as well.
So Rob keeps it, so it's probably a nice one. And then here's the Charter Course. We'll see if he found a Phoenix to bin. That's the dream, but just island.
It is going to be an island. It's a beautiful stained glass island from Dominaria United. Excellent basic land choice from Rob Anderson. And here we go. Cat Oven. Now, Alex, earlier on, you did mention cooking cats, which I have to say, we did not put any viewer discretionary warnings in this stream, but maybe we should have. Do not try this at home, my friends. But
well, you can play the cat oven deck, but I wouldn't put cats into actual ovens.
No, let's try and watch out for the feline welfare of our friends across Canada and across the world. But cat oven on the battlefield, and we're going to start seeing the activations, and there's a braid taking out the oven after that first activation.
Yeah, so in your Edgar spot, you can return the cat right away to get to attack for 1, or you can keep the potential to return it alive for a later sacrifice effect. It really depends what your plan is. If and the contents of your hand, if you have a bunch of payoffs or not. Given that the oven is gone, you might be incentivized to wait and to bring it back right away. Otherwise, you probably just wait and not let them kill your cat when the oven's tapped. But yeah, so Edgar's deciding to go aggressive.
Yeah. Rob is down to 18 from the drain effect from the cat, and now down to 70, or maybe down to... Yeah, down to 17. Okay, good. Oh, a Deadly Dispute is going to sacrifice that cat. Draw a couple of cards and make a treasure.
A Deadly Dispute, kind of not a very obvious card, but it's really important glue for the deck. Kind of connects the 2 halves of it together, even if it's not individually that powerful.
I love Deadly Dispute. It's just the best Village Rise, right? It's just so great. That little treasure as well.
Meanwhile, Rob's getting to draw 3 cards with Treasure Cruise and then Piece of the Puzzle, and Edgar doesn't seem to have a 3rd land, so we do see that Brotherhood's End has come in for Rob, which makes sense. I think you can answer a bunch of early creatures, as well as part of the combo finish. Even killing off just a bunch of treasure tokens can sometimes be really, really valuable in this matchup, because a bunch of treasure tokens left around, suddenly a Mayhem Devil shows up and it's like 7 damage to your face. You don't want to see that.
No, you certainly don't. And Edgar not working with a lot of lands, as you said, so certainly would be could be a possibility to keep him off that mana development. And Thoughtseize is going to take a look at the hand now. Spikebuild Hazard, up pieces, Brother's End, some removal, lining. Oh, and there is that.
And the Crackling Drake has in fact come in. If it's a card that I think normally the Phoenix decks bring in to combat graveyard removal, which Edgar doesn't have that much in his list. It is, however, really good against Claim the Firstborn, which is a card normally I think that the Rakdos Sacrifice deck boards out in this matchup. But if Rob's trying to play really a grindy game where he just answers all of Edgar's threats instead of kind of playing his own game plan, the Crackling Drake is great, and it seems like that's what he's elected to do.
Yeah, and the Crackling Drake is going to hit the bin Edgar maybe not having an answer to that threat right now. Just gonna make sure that it doesn't, take him out before he's able to get his engines going. Let's see whether he's found that land drop. It looks like maybe not yet.
Yeah, maybe not yet. But yeah, I will say Haiyue that if we go to game 3, that if those rending volleys aren't in Edgar's deck already, that they're going to be coming in after seeing
What
that.
do you think? What do you think about something like Furnace Rains?
Furnace Rain, it's pretty exciting. The problem is, of course, that Crackling Drake won't be as big for Edgar as it is for Rob. But
yeah, you don't get to keep your like 17 4 Crackling Drake or whatever. That is a great point.
And
cat
yeah,
oven reassembled, by the way.
Yeah, the cat part not too difficult to assemble. There's a second cat still in Edgar's graveyard. A lot of these decks tend to just have gone to just playing 3 cats because you don't really want to draw multiples, and Edgar's deck is no exception. But any number of ovens is good because the cat can go in the oven many times, but you can only activate the oven once.
Right. And here's piece of the puzzles once again. Finds a few lands. Those are going to hit the bin. And this card is so powerful. I mean, honestly, this Phoenix deck, every time I see them cast piece of the puzzle, it just feels so overwhelming. I mean, I know we talk about Treasure Cruise, Draw 3, etc., but just that filling of the graveyard plus the Draw 2, so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just like how we talked about the Rakdos Sacrifice deck has Deadly Dispute as kind of the glue that's maybe doesn't look that exciting on the outside. Piece of the puzzle is that card for the Izzet Phoenix deck. Right. It looks like it's 3 mana to just turn your wheels, but it does so much of what you want. It finds your key spells. It bins a bunch of cards, including sometimes Phoenixes, but just more importantly, fueling Delve is really big. If you view it as you're paying 3 mana ahead of time to make your Delve spell 3 less, as well as drawing 2 cards that are always spells, you can see kind of how powerful it is.
For sure. And by the way, the players have been shortcutting the end step loops with the cat. So Rob Anderson down to 14 after that attack. Bloodtithe Harvester on the battlefield now for Edgar as well. And this is more of the game that we're used to seeing from Rakdos Sacrifice. Some cats, some ovens, some smaller creatures developing out. Let's see what Rob Anderson can find here. And it keeps spinning.
Ooh. Consider putting Phoenix in the yard is a great feeling, Haiyue. It's just
yeah.
When you opt and you see a Phoenix, right? When you opt and you see a Phoenix, you feel a little sad inside. But when you consider and see a Phoenix, it's
powerful magic.
It's wonderful. And
speaking of powerful magic,
yeah, we'll see if Rob has a third spell to cast this turn to return his Phoenix. But either way, yeah, he's electing to destroy all the artifacts.
Oh, and it looks like there might be a third spell. It is an answer to Bloodtithe Harvester. Here's the Phoenix. It's getting in, and it's down to 16. Oh my goodness. I was not expecting that. You think that's the sound a Phoenix makes?
No, but...
Yes, closer to the crows that are down by the harbor. Where we
another pieces. So yeah, Rob managed to really answer a lot of what Edgar had going on, and being stuck on 2 lands also. It might be. There's already been a cruise taken. Rob's a member of the captain's club. He's gonna go for another cruise here.
I see. He's the admiral.
Yes. Poor Edgar's still stuck on 2 lands. Any Mayhem Devils or Fables are not able to come down, whereas Rob's just churning through, and it's looking more and more likely we're going to be going to a game 3 here, Haiyue.
Yeah, I mean, this is looking pretty nice. Oh my goodness. Lightning Axe, my own Phoenix.
Well, it's going to come right back.
Yeah, it comes right back. And that's a big attack in for 6. Edgar needs to find a land, doesn't find anything to help, and packs it up.
Yeah, when against the decks with creatures to kill, you're using your removal spells on your own creatures just to discard a card. It's usually not a good sign for you.
Yeah,
and
that's the power move, right?
It's a sign that Rob has an embarrassment of riches. So, yeah, it looks like we're going to a third game, and yeah, let's have a look at these deck lists again. These Rending Volleys, as I said, are probably going to come in now. You know, but it's possible that Rob takes out these Crackling Drakes. The thing is, the Rending Volley is fine anyways. It's possible Rob took out Ledger Shredder for Crackling Drake, just because it's harder to answer.
We haven't actually seen a Ledger Shredder yet from Rob. We didn't see one in game 1, and we didn't see one in game 2. Whether that was because of the them being slided out or not.
Well, we saw a lot of cards in game 2, and we didn't see one. So I would guess that they have been sided out, which makes sense. Also, if you're bringing in these Brotherhood's Ends, that sometimes you'll use them to do 3 damage. It can be awkward that way. And Edgar just generally has good answers to cheap creatures, though you'd think that that's what he's boarding out. I still kind of like Fatal Push from Edgar. It's not that hard to turn on Revolt, but it could be that Rending Volley is just the better card, and answering Ledger Shredder and Crackling Drake could be good. Could be what he wants.
For sure. I mean, we'll see as we go. Ledger Shredder, as you say, maybe a little bit weaker to the removal suite. And something that really struck me out of the sideboard cards here for Rob in that last game, Brotherhood's End coming in and just very, very careful to always be targeting the ovens, right? Like the artifacts. We saw a braid being used earlier. We saw Brotherhood's End just making sure that the ovens are off the board. And Rob, it seems like, has really identified that as the key card that is a threat in the early turns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ovens are a really, really big part of the Rakdos Sacrifice engine. They also make a lot of other artifacts between treasures and food and blood tokens. So, and being able to clean all those up as well is pretty powerful. And also, just because Rob's deck sees so many cards and has so many removal spells and these Lightning Axes and Fiery Impulses, it's very good at answering the creature threats out of Edgar's deck. So it's kind of the non-creature threats that are more annoying. The cat oven, he doesn't really care if there's a cat in play, but he does care that the oven's there to enable it. So really nice play from Rob.
For sure. Okay, I think we're going to get to see the deciding game now between these two titans of Canadian Magic. Rob Anderson up against Edgar Magalhaes, and I'm sure these players will know each other very well as well. So we go into players trying to get to that 9-1 record. Last game to do it. Oven on turn 1 for Edgar. And Rob is going to pass the turn with a land up. Let's see what the follow-up is here for Edgar, and whether he can find more than 2 lands this time. Unlike last game.
Yeah, he managed to find the second land. No play yet, though. He could have a Deadly Dispute and sacrifice the oven, but that's not usually what you want to be doing. You want to keep those ovens around. And Rob, interestingly, seemed to have no turn 1 cantrip or turn 2 cantrip, though sometimes as the Phoenix deck, you hold on to your cantrips until you know which cards you need from them. For example, if you don't know if you need a third land or not until later, you can wait and then keep lands. Whereas if you cast it early and you take a land, you might still draw another land.
Gigantha in hand for Edgar. What does that tell you about the composition of his hand?
It's not a sign of strength to put Gigantha into hand. I'll tell you that, Haiyue. You really don't want to get to the point where you're casting 5-mana 5/5s against the deck with Lightning Axe. It's not a great spot to be. He really would have preferred to play a Fable there, especially Rob only having 1 mana up. He could have a Spell Pierce, but couldn't have something like the Aether Gust that we think that has probably been boarded in.
Right. I mean, there are not a lot of counters in this Phoenix deck, just the 2 copies of Spell Pierce, and as you say, maybe the Aether Gust out the side for this matchup, or maybe negate as well. We're going to start seeing some consideration now from Rob Anderson about how he wants to sculpt his hand, his graveyard, and maybe the top of his deck.
Yeah, so if
What's
you're Edgar's
he doing?
spot,
Like, what is he thinking?
yeah, so the cards the things that Edgar could have here are, reactive cards, obviously, things like rending volleys, for example, that he's boarded in. Yeah, he does ultimately decide has to dispute this oven. So he could also have things like Mayhem Devil that he's slow rolling because he knows how many cheap removal spells Rob's deck has, and he's waiting to deploy a Mayhem Devil when he can get some value out of sacrificing things immediately. But either way, it seems like a bit of a weaker draw from Edgar. I'm not sure if the player's mulliganed or not, but it's definitely sacrificing your oven to Deadly Dispute is not where you want to be. But sometimes I guess you have a lot of ovens.
Yeah, I mean, does have the second oven and has the Fable to follow up now as well. And that looks like it's on the stack, at least for the time being. 2 mana available to pay for any spell pierces, and that's going to resolve. So Goblin created, oven down, and Edgar now is starting to build up the battlefield a little bit. And do you think maybe that he was just holding a lot of these resources, hoping to kind of deploy them in one fell swoop?
It's possible. Also, could be that you just drew something like this Fable off of the Deadly Dispute.
Oh.
Ooh, and we got a Blood Tithe Harvester coming down too. Also, Edgar is incentivized not to play out multiple ovens when there's nothing else there because he knows Rob has these Brotherhood's ends to be able to clean them up.
And we might be seeing one now. It is Brotherhood's End. Let's see whether this time he's going to... It's going to be the creatures this time, the 3 damage. Oven gets to stick around, and one of them is going to be sacrificed to make a food, but there's no cat to bring back just yet. So Rob Anderson's making use of that Brotherhood's End, getting the Goblin and the Blood Tithe Harvester off the battlefield.
Yeah, just showing really these Brotherhood's Ends have been very, very good, Haiyue. Obviously Rob wished that he could also deal with all these artifacts, but you don't want to let a Goblin Shaman go loose, and then of course the Harvester, when the Fable flips, becomes a really, really dangerous threat.
Now we maybe now get a clue as to what Edgar was holding on to. 2 copies of Fatal Push being sent to the bin.
Yeah, it looks like this could be the turn that we get to see Gigantha come down. Because I was wondering if Gigantha was going to be one of those discards. That's its best job often is to be a just piece of cardboard to discard to Fable. But a cat has made an appearance.
All right, cat on the battlefield. We're going to start seeing the drains happening. Food is already available, as well as the active oven. So Edgar is kind of assembling the pieces here. There's no Mayhem Devil just yet.
Looks like this is a Deadly Dispute.
Keep the cards flowing.
Yeah. And there's already a food to bring back the cat, so there's nothing really lost there. Could sacrifice the food, but then you just miss out on 1 extra drain. So.
And Edgar has assembled the Tokentron.
Yeah, one of each. So this is a spot where Brotherhood's End another Brotherhood's End clearing up the artifacts would be really, really nice for Rob. Because otherwise, Edgar's threatening, like a Mayhem Devil here is a really, really dangerous proposition.
What's Rob's path to victory from here?
Well, I think certainly if he can answer what Edgar's doing, that's one route, or he can just bring back a bunch of Phoenixes and take some turns. And well, there's part of it, putting a Phoenix in the yard with the Charter Course.
That is the first spell.
Generally, the longer the game goes, the better it's going to be for Rob, I think, because he's got way more card advantage and he's got a lot of answers. He can eventually answer anything Edgar can do. But if Edgar can build up enough of a board with these sacrifice artifacts and do some cat oven shenanigans, he can really trump what he can kill Rob off quickly or set up a Mayhem Devil, and Rob doesn't really have effective answers to that. So we'll see what happens, but Rob's holding on to a lot of cards. Edgar still has, it looks like, 2 or 3. We know one of them's Gigantha.
Mm-hmm. And here is a reflection of Kiki-Jiki now being flipped. And Edgar choosing not to sacrifice the food in the end step to bring the cat back. Maybe a little hint that we might see a Mayhem Devil, maybe not. Suddenly working with a lot of cards still in the hand, a lot of resources to fuel whatever's coming here. 3 mana tap. There it is. Mayhem Devil hits the battlefield.
Absolutely, and this represents quite a bit of damage. Also, Edgar can wait for Rob to blink first to do something, and then respond by bringing back cat and then sacking cat to oven, rather than having to be the proactive one to do it.
Here's Fiery Impulse. That is going to force some action here from Edgar. It's going to start with the blood token. And remember, each sacrifice permanent is going to be 1 trigger. And that means the cat loop itself would be 3 damage potentially to face. But certainly
there's another cat.
The blood. Oh, yeah, second cat. Blood is going to be 1. So Robert down to 15. And that is really the key part of this sacrifice deck, Alex. You've got to be able to count down from 20.
Yeah, and it's tough to play against too, because you really have to be able to count all the potential damage that can be done. And it's interesting that Edgar, instead of doing cat oven to do some extra damage, sacrificed the Mayhem Devil itself to create another food. That to me reads that he probably has another Mayhem Devil and is setting up to be able to do this again next turn.
Yeah, and Rob, I think maybe cognizant of that, the danger that would pose, wants to at least stop extra copies being made. So Reflection of Kiki-Jiki is going to be taken out by the Lightning Axe. And I think Rob pitched a Charter Course there, but it does not matter because all of those cards are being delved away. And 3 cards coming off the top. It's cruising time.
Yeah, and Rob's looking hopefully for one more spell here, and then the Phoenix can come back and make whatever sound you think it makes, Haiyue. And maybe start putting some pressure on Edgar rather than just being the one under pressure himself.
I think I'll spare the ears of our wonderful viewers. I wouldn't want face to face who have done so much for Canadian Magic and put out all these awesome events to have their viewership suffer from my attempts at annual impressions on the stream. Brothers, and number 2 comes out, and quite as you predicted, Alex, this one looking like it's going to sweep up the artifacts, and that could mean trouble for Edgar.
Yeah, he gets to bring back his 2 cats at least. And Rob has a nice defensive Phoenix to be able to block cats. But
it's the fatal push.
Yep.
Okay, so Edgar needs to find something.
Well, Edgar, even Rob at 12, like even just powering up this eye could be strong. Of course, he has to worry about Rob having a removal spell for it, but wouldn't be too bad. I mean, even just he still has the Gigantha, I believe, in his hand, so that's a reasonable addition to the board too.
Decides not to risk the hive into the removal spell. Just gonna get in with those 2 cats, and here's Gigantha. Yeah, you do not see this that often, maybe, but Gigantha doing a great Colossopede impression on the battlefield.
And Rob looking to tap and then untap. It seems like there's probably a Lightning Axe in hand, but he thought maybe I'll wait. Yeah, Crackling Drake. That's a big hitter here.
Yeah, we don't have the exact count. I'm sure the players are finding out now, but it's okay. We can see 3 in the graveyard, and here we go.
We get 10.
10.
Looks like, yeah.
Okay, that's half of Edgar's life total.
It is, yeah. Though potentially another cat trigger, and Edgar could go up to 21 or something. But Rob could also easily increase that 10 to something higher. I mean, it's looking like he has Lightning Axe in hand, but we'll see.
Oh, okay. So Lightning Axe onto
discarding Crackling Drake.
Yeah, pitching the second Crackling Drake, and another.
This looks like a braid.
Potentially, yeah.
Rob has 2 cards in hand, and both of them are better than Crackling Drake. If you're sitting in Edgar's seat, you can't be too happy about that.
I mean, maybe something like some time walk action.
It seems like from what we've seen that Rob might have boarded out some of his time walks just in favor of the additional treasure cruise in the sideboard, and trying to go more controlish rather than having the combo finish. That seems to be his plan. So far, it looks like it's working pretty well. This Crackling Drake is threatening, killing Edgar pretty quickly, and Edgar's already gone through 3 Fatal Push. We saw 2 discarded to a Fable. We saw 1 killing a Phoenix earlier. And yeah. Tapped out.
Tapped out. Mayhem Devil down. 2 cats down, but no oven, no sacrifice ability available. Treasure Cruise now for Rob Anderson.
Definitely one of the cards I would guess if our Edgar's seat that Rob had kept instead of the second Crackling Drake.
And now that's going to add 1 to the Crackling Drake count.
Yeah, so getting close. I mean, 2 more spells. 3. Yeah, pieces of the puzzle.
Pieces? That's going to... Okay. Those pieces fights pieces. And I think pieces is going to the graveyard for 2 lands. We're not sure what Rob took. I think there was a red card there.
It's interesting that Rob might be incentivized to not take the full amount of spells, to just because this Phoenix is coming back, and now I think this might be. I'm not sure on the exact count, but yeah, it looks like.
Oh my goodness! 1 hit kill for Rob Anderson with Crackling Drake and Phoenix from the graveyard, and that means that he's going to be advancing to 9-1 in the Swiss today at face-to-face Edmonton over Edgar Magalhaes with Raptor Sacrifice, who played so well throughout all 3 of those games. I think especially in game 1, I think we were so just excited to see that finish out with the multiple copies of Reflection plus the Mayhem Devil triggers. But what a display from both players, Alex.
Oh yeah, really, really cool match. I think the first and third games especially were really, really good. We got to see both players doing what their deck does and making some really nice plays. Getting to see all the Fable tokens in game 1 was my personal highlight. It was really really cool how the reflections have been long dead, but their ghosts remain for many turns to eventually finally die, triggering all these Mayhem Devils. So
yeah,
but
definitely fantastic stuff, and it's clear that he really knows the deck inside out, every single little edge, every trick that you could possibly pull. Great stuff there from Edgar, and congrats to Rob. That finish with the Crackling Drake, just spectacular. And I think both of these players still obviously very much looking forward to closing it out in the next couple of rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Both still in great position. I think Rob with 1 more win should be a lock. Edgar needs 2 more, but still both very much live. And yeah, I'm hoping to see more from both of these players.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's going to do it from round number 9. We are going to go away for a break. By the way, it is going to be Alex and I with you all throughout the day. We're going to be here through the Swiss, through the top way, all the way until we crown a champion. So we will be seeing you back after the break for round number 10. Don't go anywhere.